1 block from Independence Hall on Chestnut Street, you will find the Second Bank of the United States. It was built between 1818 and 1824, and the architect of the building was William Strickland. He was also the architect of the Merchant Exchange Building, and he restored the tower at Independence Hall. The building is no longer a bank. It is now a portrait gallery of our founding fathers. And it's kind of fitting, the first portrait you see is George Washington. And if you look out this window, you will see Independence Hall. This is the coat of arms of Philadelphia. And right next to it is another painting of the coat of arms of Philadelphia. In this room, you will find paintings of Philadelphia back when America was first starting. This is a painting of Market Street. It was originally known as High Street, and it had that big market going all the way down the street to City Hall. There is still an open-air market like this only a block from South Street. And here are paintings of old Philadelphia back when this bank was built. Some of these buildings still exist, some of them do not. And this is where most of the banking of the Second Bank of the United States happened, in this lobby here. This is a portrait of William Penn. And if you go through here and you see this portrait, this is a portrait of Charles Willson Peale. He painted the majority of the portraits in the portrait gallery. And there he is, Philadelphia's favorite founding father, Ben Franklin. And located next to him is Alexander Hamilton. He has a musical written about him. And this is Robert Morris, the financier of the American Revolution. Even the floor in this building has an interesting story. This floor was sold to the U.S. government as Italian marble. It was recently discovered that this isn't Italian marble at all. It's a rock that you can find in Vermont. The bank tellers were stationed behind this column. You can tell by these holes where their counters used to be. Charles Willson Peale didn't only paint portraits, he was also a museum owner. He had a museum on the second floor of Independence Hall. That's a painting of him, and that's his museum you would see at Independence Hall. He would have portraits on the top section of the museum, and below that, he would have stuffed animals. And that is exactly how this room is laid out. The portraits are up top, and the other exhibits are below. Charles Willson Peale eventually closed that museum, and he had a lot of animals he had taxidermied. This is one of his taxidermied animals. This was his own pet eagle. The majority of the other remaining stuffed animals were sold to P.T. Barnum. Unfortunately, Barnum's museum caught fire in the late 1800s. None of the stuffed animals were saved. We are now inside the vault of the Second Bank of the United States. Admission to the Second Bank of the United States and Portrait Gallery is free. It's run by the National Park Service. The hours that the portrait gallery is open vary, so please check websites before you come. This is President Andrew Jackson, and this is Nicholas Biddle. These two men were the participants of the Bank War. And this is a political cartoon describing the Great Bank War. Jackson wanted the banks to be run by the states. Biddle wanted the federal government to run the banks. Ultimately, the charter of the second bank was pulled, so Jackson was the victor of the Great Bank War. And located 2 rows from a portrait of Ben Franklin is a bust of Ben Franklin. Philadelphians may not recognize this man's face, but they should know his name. This is John Bartram. And if you ever went to Rittenhouse Square, it was named after this guy, David Rittenhouse. Here's a portrait of Thomas Jefferson. And one of the only 2 presidents to serve as president in the city of Philadelphia, this is John Adams. Charles Wilson Peale was not the only portrait painter in his family. His son Rembrandt painted this portrait of George Washington. And we will finish this tour in the office of Nicholas Biddle. In this room, you will not only see portraits of founding fathers, but portraits of prominent Philadelphians who helped lay the framework of America. It seems fitting that this room is here because if you look out this window, you will see Carpenter's Hall, and that's where the First Continental Congress met. They just don't make buildings like this anymore. Well, that's it. That's our tour of the Second Bank of the United States. Check out that chandelier. If you like this video, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up, and while you're at it, hit subscribe. Don't forget to check out my merch. My merch is fire, and if you want to help me out, there's a link below in every video to my Patreon. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll sail with you later. Toodles!